And good morning all, welcome to the Saturday preview with myself, Dave Massey, as ever. It is, looking at the clock, 10 to 9, there we go, 10 to 9 on a Saturday morning. Deliberately left the preview late this week because obviously the rain was sort of still coming in yesterday, right through to sort of 10, 11 o'clock at night and through the night in one or two places it seems as well. So just wanted to make sure we knew where we were with the ground, particularly at Ripon, which is my sort of focus of attention today. I'm not mad keen at the meetings at Newbury. There's some poor fields there, really, considering. The Grey Horse handicap at Newmarket is worth a mention. I'll do that a bit later on, and there's a couple at Market Raisin that, for those of you that missed them on yesterday's Daily Punt, I will give a mention to again towards the end. But it is, as I say, the two spring handicaps at Ripon that are the focus of attention. The St Wilfrid itself, Great St Wilfrid itself, and the consolation race at 205. And we'll start with that consolation race at 205. A big field, as you'd expect. You've got 20 runners here. However, you try and find where the pace is coming from in this. Very, very difficult. You've got plenty of hold-up horses here, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I thought Bossy Pop from stall 7, and possibly even Old Piper's Note, who knows his way around here backwards, from stall 3, were possible pace angles. Bossy Pop looks the most likely one in stall 7, but I mean, two immediate negatives with Bossy Pop. Doesn't really want any cut in the ground at all, and two, I just don't think he's up to this, to be perfectly honest. Having said all that, bookmakers have thrown Bossy Pop in as the absolute rag here at 66, which was, for a horse that's going to lead and probably gets his own way up front, was mildly tempting, even with all the negatives. But I just can't see it myself. I just don't see Bossy Pop playing a hand in the finish, and so I sort of went elsewhere. On this ground, obviously the one that sort of springs out a bit at you is Flying Pursuit, who really does like this ground and is up to this class. But you've got to worry that Flying Pursuit's just a little bit off the boil. Last of 15 at Thirsk a couple of weeks ago. I know that was over 7 furlongs, which probably isn't his optimum trip, but he gets 7. He should have run a bit better than that. And he's run at York the time before, the race that he'd won the previous 2 years. Was laboured, to say the least. He never looked like winning it. He just sort of plugged through beaten horses in the 5th that day. He at no point did you think he was going to win. I put him up that day, and I never really had a moment's optimism. I thought he just sort of ran on, beaten 3 lengths, 3 beatens. So at 8 to 1, I can pass Flying Pursuit over, I think. The one I'm going to go with is a horse that certainly, well, there's 2 in the race that are interesting. The first one, from stall 16, I think Lucky Man, who can't have it deep enough, won the Air Bronze Cup last year on heavy ground. And it could just be that that's what he is. He's a sort of autumn horse, because he gave notice last time at Hamilton that he was on the way back to some of his better form. Finished 3rd of 9 there, beaten just under 2 lengths by KO Lane. I thought that was a reasonable effort, to be perfectly honest, given his previous runs. He'd been well beaten in a couple of starts. Stall 16 is okay. He's got a little bit of pace around him to try and get him into the race. A mark of 78 is what really sort of attracts me in. That's £5 lower than his win in the Air Bronze last year. So you're talking about a horse that doesn't mind big field handicaps, that's well handicapped and will like the ground. The negative with him is whether he'll handle Ripon. He's had 1 go at Ripon and in April, and he didn't run particularly well. So that is a concern, but it's probably my only concern with Lucky Man. I think he's got to be high on my shortlist. And the other one I'm going with is the one that's just above him in the handicap, the 16 horse Mark's Choice, who is in the same sort of ownership as Piper's Note, the same trainer as well in Ruth Carr. plenty of tick boxes, I think, for Mark's choice. Very consistent, first of all. Hasn't been out the first 4 in his last 6 starts. Tends not to get beaten very far. Acts well on soft ground. Acts at Ripon. He's probably on a mark that is towards the top end of where you'd want to be with him, but he just ticks a few more boxes here than most, and his consistency alone just brings him into this, and the fact that he handles Ripon. It was a course and distance winner here back in June, and I say the time after that he handled soft ground absolutely fine. He was 4th on soft ground here, but that was over 5 fills, and he was doing all of his best work late on. So I thought they'd be the 2 for me. Mark's choice, lucky man, in what is a tricky race, to say the least. The Stewards Cup itself, listen to me, the Great St Wilfrid itself at 3:15, I think he's, at least you're going to get some pace in this. There's a bit more of an even spread of pace. There's a little bit low, there's a little bit middle, and there's quite a bit high. Now, the first one that sort of caught my eye with this, and it's my sort of main bet of the day, is Musica, if you like, David O'Meara's, who on his last 2 starts has sort of shown that soft ground isn't a problem. Generally had been kept away from soft ground before that, but then ran him at York against Dakota Gold, really good handicap that was, and he looked all over them when he travelled ever so well that day. Now on that occasion he was sort of held up a little bit off the pace, but he has led before, Musica. He can go from the front as well. And with that in mind, I thought stall 6, on his inside stalls 1 to 5, he's got 5 hold-up horses. So from stall 6, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they get Musica out and onto that far rail. And we've seen this year that you can win off that far rail at York in these big sprint handicaps. I've seen a couple of them do it. Hyperfocus, off the top of my head, I remember doing it, making all on that far side, and particularly when the ground's on the soft side, it does bring low numbers right into this. So with Musica, again, you've got a horse that's probably towards the top end of its mark of 92. There's not a lot left in that, but certainly handles Ripon. Was second over course and distance here last time. Lahore beat it last time. Now Lahore reopposes today on slightly worse terms. But whereas I think Musica's quite well drawn in 6, I'm not sure that Lahore in 19, going to need a bit of luck from 19 for a hold-up horse. He's going to have quite a few horses in front of him with 300 yards to run. If the gaps come for Lahore, yeah, fine, he's going to have his chance. But I just thought Musica in 6 looked better drawn to me with the hold-up horses on his inside. It's not impossible that we're going to get them congregating into one group sort of up the middle, and if that's the case, fine. I've got no problem with Musica being out on the wing in 6. That's equally fine. So however you look at it, I think Musica has got definite chances here because he ticks just about every box you're looking for. For a second backup pick in the race, I've gone with that nice Mr. O'Meara again, actually, an Intisab. The worry with Intisab is this ground. Right, stop. Because in the last 5 minutes, Intisab's been taken out of the race. So there we go. Presumably on the ground, because that was going to be the big worry with Intisab. But I was going to say that there are enough positives to sort of put him in at around about sort of 25, 28 to 1. There were enough other positives. So it's just going to be one. It's just going to be the one bet in the Great St Wilfrid, and that's going to be Musica then now, because I didn't really fancy anything else. There is a pocket of pace, sort of stalls 15 through to about I think it's about 15 through to 18 or 14 through to 18 where the pace is coming from, and I'm sort of like looking for something around there to maybe come from just behind them. But I'm happy to sit tight now and just sit with them, just go with Musica, I think, in that Great St Wilfrid. One or two others to mention on the Grey Horse Handicap. The 245 at Newmarket. Always an interesting race. It's not least because those down the bottom of the handicap here tend to be horses that are just outclassed, to be honest. They're in it because they're greys, and they know that they'll get in because there are only so many entries for this. You know, the fact that it's limited to greys immediately rules out probably what, I don't know, 96% of the horse population, probably about 4% of greys. I don't know, something along that sort of lines. I'm picking a figure out of thin air there. Maybe 98% of horses are brown. There we go, a brown or black. And it was a race. I say, the more I looked at it, the more I sort of ended up going round and round in circles. I thought Case Key was a possible pace angler and was moderately interesting. Whether he's up to this, I'm not entirely sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran well from the front. The obvious one, really, I suppose, is Lethal Angel, who's not been out of the frame in her last 6 starts. Won't mind a little bit of cut in the ground. I was watching them at Newmarket last night. It was reasonably hard work up the hill. There's definitely some cut there. They're calling it good to soft, I think, this morning. I think it's more good to soft than good in it. It might dry out a little bit today, but you talked about a horse here that only got beaten in nose over 5 furlongs here in June. A couple of pound higher today, gets 6 furlongs fine, handles the track, is in form, and will probably be sort of front ranked throughout. I think. So the trouble is, she's one of the favourites for this. She's been putting it around about 6.5, and that's probably her price rather than overpriced. And I'm not mad keen to play the race, to be perfectly honest. But if you gave me a fiver, it'd probably go each way on Lethal Angel, I think, at the price. I'm going to be at Market Raisin tonight. I ought to mention a couple here. It's a moderate card. Craig David plays there tonight after racing, which is why it's going to be packed out and why we're going. The two that I sort of mentioned yesterday on the punt, both have a go. One of them's in a different race than I thought might be in, and that's Perpignan in the 6 o'clock, who goes in this 2-6 handicap. Interesting race this. There's 1 or 2 here. I do like the top one, Land League. I like Stuart Evans as a trainer. You know that I've sung the praises of Stuart before. I think he's a really good trainer. I thought Kilmagany was moderately interesting as well at 16-1, as I think he's going to get an easy lead. But when all's said and done, Perpignan, if you get a chance, go back and look at that Southwell run. That was over hurdles last time, when it was on the day that Southwell got abandoned because it was really, really hot, very, very warm. And Perpignan, I was there that day. He really needed that run. He'd been off a month, but my word, he looked like he'd been off a year. He was very big in the paddock, and I thought whatever he does, he'll definitely come on for. And if you have a look at him from 2 out, where he just sort of stays on without any sort of pressure from his jockey, and he only gets beaten 6 lengths in the end. Really eye-catching. They're going back over fences. He's a point-to-point winner, twice a point-to-point winner, and he's going up in trim. He's a really interesting contender here, I think. The only worry is the cheap pieces are missing. They put cheap pieces on him at Southwell, and they're not here. But that alone is not enough to put me off Perpignan. Having a bet on Perpignan here at 5-1, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he goes off short. If there's money for these Christian Williams horses, you definitely take note of them. And the other one is in the 7 o'clock, which is a rotten handicap. Frankly, you wouldn't give 2 bob for the whole field. They are thoroughly untrustworthy. None of them come into this with any sort of what you would call a solid profile. It looks wide open. I've gone with Gentleman James, who ran better when they took the tongue tie off him last time out at Cartmel, got beat 6 lengths, and they changed the cheap pieces for linkers. Now, if that works a second time, then I think he's got a decent chance here. Because, as I say, it's a dreadful handicap. Again, Diane Sayer, another yard where you got a note when the money's down, if there's money for them. Interesting that Conor O'Farrell keeps the ride as well. I think that's quite significant. The ground won't be a problem. There's been a bit of rain up at Rays, and they're calling it good ground again. I'll wait and see for myself. But yeah, in a race where it's a proper spin the bottle job, you'd want something at a price, and Gentleman James is a price. So it's a very small each way bet for me on Gentleman James in that 7 o'clock, a race full of rogues and thieves. So there we go, best bet of the day. Hopefully Musica in that Great St Wilfrid. I do like his chances. I don't think he'll be out of the frame. I think we've got a decent chance of getting a lot with Musica. Who does? I know there's a lot of seconds next to Musica's name, and you sort of worry that he's just a horse that doesn't win. But actually, he's won 5 of his 31 starts. So 1 in 6, he wins his races. He wins when he's ready to win. And I just thought he had a really good chance here. So there we go. Best of luck. I'll be back on Tuesday.